So, I played Doom 2016 finally. It only took me 3 years. Well, 3 years isn't so bad for me. I mean, there's games over there that have taken me longer than that to get to, probably. I mean, maybe not 3 years since I bought them, though, so maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, you know, longer than I've known about the game or something. I don't know. Probably there's games. There's absolutely games that have been sitting over there for 3 years. I can tell you Until Dawn at least has been sitting over there for 3 years. So good enough. I mean, so I'm not too late to the boat on this one, and Doom Eternal's coming out next year pretty early. So I mean, I'm almost there. But I was really reluctant to play this game beforehand because I played the original three Doom games like about a year ago or something. Maybe it was like 2 years ago. Probably, yeah, probably about 2 years ago because this was at my old place. So that was when I was gonna make a video on it there. Around the time when I did like that Harry Potter video and all that shit. I think back then was around the time that I was gonna do it, and like I just didn't get around to it. I was actually gonna put a lot of effort into it, make it like a high edited video, and I just didn't have time to do it at the time or something. But anyway, so did I review Doom 3 or something? Maybe I don't know. I definitely did that on Facebook. I wrote a review for it or whatever, but it doesn't matter. The point is that I have played the new Doom. I played the first three like last year or 2 years ago, and those still hold up really good. I think that the first one is like pretty much a masterpiece. It's one of the greatest first-person shooter, games of our time. I would say it's hold up pretty well. That's a game that's like one of my top 20 favorite games or something that I definitely put in there. It was very influential to me. It was the first M-rated game I was ever not allowed to play, but just ever did play. My brother like let me play it one time, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy. And there's demons, and it's scary and shit. It's like that and Silent Hill, which I never was. I think I played it like once for a few minutes back then, but it was just terrifying to me. I would still say that's probably the game uh, out of all of them that would freak me out the most. Just replaying. I had this one time, this one experience, like I was in my basement at my mom's place, and I was playing Silent Hill, and then all of a sudden something falls on the other side of the basement or whatever. It thoroughly freaked me out. I think it happened like twice or something. I'm just like, oh fuck this shit, like here's some demon ghost shit possessed with this game or something, even though it's like a digital file. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, so my point with all that is that Doom, the original, the first one, was this game that kind of like I loved playing back then, and I played it a lot back then, along with Wolfenstein 3D, which I think I played more just because it was around more or something. But I definitely played a lot of Doom because it was a really good game that I kind of grew up with. Doom 2, I think I played a little bit back in the day, and then I never really played it until I did this similar run to what I did like a few years ago, but I did that in high school, so that was like 10 years ago or something, where I played through all the Doom, well, Doom 1, Doom 2, and then like all the expansion stuff or whatever. So that was pretty cool. I remember doing that. That's probably the first time I actually beat Doom 2. Pretty sure I beat Doom 1 before that, but yeah, so but then more recently I played them on the BFG edition. So I love the first Doom, and then the second Doom I think is a pretty good follow up to the first Doom. It has a lot more like puzzle elements and stuff, and some of that can get kind of annoying. Some of the levels aren't like super good, but I think that for the most part they remain pretty quality. So whereas like the first Doom would be like a 10, maybe that'd be like an 8.5 or like a 9 somewhere in there. And then the third Doom, Doom 3, which I just finished for the first time, actually just played for the first time in general a few years ago when I was doing those runs, so like 2017 probably. Um, and I thought that game was pretty good. I thought it was definitely too focused on the horror elements, which is ironic because, as we'll get to with this Doom, it didn't. It's kind of lacking on the horror elements, which is kind of one of the problems I had with it. But Doom 3 had a lot of these horror elements, and they had this whole thing with your flashlight and all of that. And what I remember remarking about it was that the gameplay was pretty good, but I just kind of wish that you would be able to do that, and then it would also just be like more vibrant and stuff. And I remember there being like small bits in hell, and then there's like you you didn't get that the whole game or whatever. So it was like that was kind of my problem with that one. Um, the hell segments were like the best part of it, and then like you'd go into these like really dark corridors, and it was just impossible to find your way around, and it just wasn't as satisfying. When you get to the end, you fight this demon, like one of the cyber demons or whatever, with the big rocket launchers, and it's really underwhelming because you just kind of lead him around. You don't even like shoot him to take him down and stuff. So I thought that game was kind of okay. Just not like the greatest one. It was pretty good, but not amazing. I mean, it was pretty good for the time. I'm assuming that's one of the things I remember saying in the review was that it feels like the natural evolution of Doom for the time, but they were really focused on the horror elements, which kind of you know, Doom wasn't like fully about the horror elements. It was probably like 30, 70. Well, with the original Doom, I'd say the atmosphere and stuff was more developed around horror. Like, they didn't have to try back then to do the horror because I mean, they tried, obviously, a lot, but you put it with the music, and the music, along with the setting, just makes everything really horrifying, along with the demons and the enemies and stuff. It's just, like, terrifying back then. But now, you have to really try and put in the realism and whatnot, I guess, because that's what this one did, is it tried for a little bit of realism or something, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But, you gotta kind of try to get the horror elements back nowadays because people are so desensitized to that kind of stuff. But back in the day, Doom 1 and 2 and stuff were pretty terrifying, especially because of the music. Like I was saying, the music in those games was super just like there were levels like the first level where it's like it's like really metal and you're like, okay, this is blood pumping action. That's what this game is. And then there were other levels where it's just like really creepy music and you're just like, oh man, what's coming around the corner, and you're skulking around hell. And even the Mars areas, like in the bases and stuff, were great, and it was well atmosphered the whole time. It was always creepy. It was always on point. You always got that same consistent sense of that. And then so the music really helped with that too. It was really good. It's like a really good soundtrack, especially atmosphere wise. It really helps with that. So that's kind of something that I associate with the essence of Doom is like the soundtrack and the atmosphere and the enemies. Were kind of all very important to that experience for me. So Doom 3 did a little bit of that, and then it's like I think the soundtrack was all right. I think other areas in Doom 3 the soundtrack was just kind of whatever. So it was like a mixed bag. And the action was pretty good, but they didn't have as much of it, and it was just kind of muted to the whole horror thing, which the game wasn't really that scary, so it's kind of like it was kind of weak in that sense. So coming into the new Doom, what I was thinking was when I've seen gameplay of this, and then when I watched my friends play it back in the day when they first got it or whatever, like they were playing maps and then they were playing custom maps and stuff, I think, or something like that. I just had this experience of remembering, like, this looks really boring, and I, like, fell asleep half the time. Now, that could be in no small part to me being really stressed out back then, and, like, school and a job, and, like, pretty much a part-time, it was almost like a full-time job on top of school. I was working every day, and it was really stressful. So that could be part of it, but also I just thought it looked aesthetically really boring, and I didn't really understand like what would be so fun about playing this game. Yeah, you gotta stop too. Oh well. He wants to make his little cameo. That's fine. He could do that. Um, so he just keeps running. It's right under here. But anyway, so yeah, I just thought looked aesthetically not that great, and the gameplay was just more on the action side of things, which is still true. it just didn't appeal to me much back then, especially spending a ton of money on it. Like $60 would have been just like really disappointing for me, I would assume back then. But now that it was a lot cheaper, I think I've probably spent like $10 on this game, like when I got it, like 2 years ago or whenever the fuck I got it. It's probably like 3 or 4 years ago. Honestly, it's probably, well, not 4 years ago, 3 years ago, because the game came out in 2016. But so I think I might have gotten it like 2016, early 2017, but it was like it dropped in price so much because it was just like so like nobody cared anymore or whatever. Um, so yeah, I eventually ended up getting it for like $10, which is like it's a pretty good deal. Okay, especially for the game. I think the game is pretty good. So I mean, I think $10 is definitely worth it. You can get it for that now. I mean, the Switch version just fucking is like at 60 still pretty much. I think it's always 50 or consistently anywhere I go. Even Disc Replay, which always has great deals, it's like still $52, which is like their price for new games basically. Or maybe it's in the 40s now, but it's just not really worth it. I would say. I would say this version. I hear there's problems with the Switch version too and stuff. I don't know. I'm sure it'd be fine. I mean, I think my friend Mayab has that, or I don't even remember if he has that or if he has the PS4 version. He's a really big fan of Switch. I would assume he has that. I don't know, but kind of like with Wolfenstein as well. The new Wolfenstein, I heard that there was some problems with that on the Switch, but it's not an older game like this. Older, like it's not that much older, but it's a little bit older. It's like so it was a bit of a newer game, so it was kind of hard for them to do that on Switch. Anyway, so this game, I played it on PS4, obviously. I played the other three, well, on PC originally, and then on PS3, I played them on the BFG collection, like, the other year. So that was pretty cool. Those are good ports of those games, I would say. Not too much of a problem with those. But I played it on PS4, so here's the thing about this game. So I went in, and then my point of all this was, when I was watching my friends play it, I'm like, oh, the enemies don't look like they used to, and the atmosphere isn't very good, and this and that, and the gameplay just kind of looks dull. It looks like any other fucking first-person shooter ever, and a lot of that is still very true to the game, but at least I've played it now to be able to have that experience of playing it. So that was my immediate reaction to the game, was like the enemies look kind of bland and whatnot, and they look really generic, and then the gameplay was just like, oh, okay, well, there's like this gore system on top of like shooting guys and stuff, and it's like, all right, this is whatever. So I would say the first few levels, really the first like fourth of the game or something, is like just kind of boring, and there's only 13 levels, so whatever, but like the first like four or so are just like really boring. So I kind of thought, okay, well, this is probably going to be the experience of this game, is I'm just going to find it kind of boring, and then like it was okay. Like I thought it was okay the whole time I was playing it through those first four levels or whatever. Then you start to get some more of the guns, you learn about the upgrade system. I mean, you learn about that fairly early on, but you start actually getting to utilize the upgrade system and whatnot. And I think that the upgrade system definitely kind of saves the game. I could talk about that in a minute here, but you start getting some of that stuff. You start getting some of the deeper elements to the gameplay. Lord knows the story elements aren't that deep, but I mean, it was all right. It got a little bit better towards the end, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like anything like special that they wanted to throw in there. And obviously, Doom has never been about the story, which is fine. They tried. They did a good enough job for what it was. So I will say that the music was really good, but it kind of stems along with the other problems of the game, is that the music is the thing that emphasizes the fact that in the old games, like I was saying, there's a metal part of the soundtrack, and then there's like a really haunting and eerie part of the soundtrack, which really balances together to make what kind of game Doom is. It's like a survival horror haunt. Like part of it is horror, part of it is action. FPS gameplay. They come together to make a really kind of unique experience for back in the day, and especially even now. I mean, I'd say it's still a pretty unique game. this game is more just about the action. I mean, the horror elements of it are severely cut down. I mean, if the last game was like 40-60, this game is like, like 40 horror, 60 action. This game is like 10% horror and then like 90% action, because that's really what they wanted to focus on, which is fine. I get that, because they already tried the horror thing in Doom 3 and it didn't really work out for them well. And that's okay. And I get it. And the game is still great in its own right. I'm not saying it's like amazing or anything, because I don't think that it is. I think that it's pretty good. I think that it's, overall a fun game, but it kind of betrays the classic Doom stylings, which is like, okay. And I know that there's like the secret levels, which I never like found or whatever, to bring in the classic styling, but I can't remember. I think I've seen gameplay footage of it before. I don't remember if it's like more slower paced and all that like the original games were, or if it's like a classically styled version of the new Doom, the 2016 version. I should stop calling it that. I said in my other thing, or I said somewhere, I'm just gonna call it Doom 4, so I'll probably just call it that. Or, I'll point at it and mean that Doom versus Doom, back in the day, or whatever. I don't know. So, anyway, like, the horror has significantly been cut back, and maybe that was just me. Maybe that was just the time that I experienced the other game, was that it was more horrific for a child. But I still think that to this day, it's like, it's not terrifying in that sense. Like I was telling my friends, that it's like not Silent Hill terrifying. It's more like you're underpowered and you're kind of you're in this it's the atmosphere and the music and all of that, it just makes up for the experience of it being um, horror in a sense, which they didn't really do as much here, and especially in the first few levels. So I was saying, like the first 4 levels or so, it's like, it's just kind of boring, because you're in like these bases and there's like demons and stuff, but they're not like the interesting ones. Then so and I think that's important. It's that the designs of the normal enemies, they don't really have like the like in Doom. This was something I was thinking about while I was playing the game today. I played it yesterday, and I played it for like, I don't know, like 8 hours or 10 hours or so. I don't remember. It was a long time. But I played it then, and I played it today for another like 4 or so hours, I would say. Part of what I was thinking about today was the fact that in the original Doom games, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, there must have been, and at least in Doom 2, because that's the one I'm thinking of at the moment. But there were enemies that were like humanoid. They're like zombies or something, I guess. I don't really know exactly what the enemies were called, but they had guns, right? They had shotguns and they had pistols. Some of them had, and I think, pretty sure, yeah. And then one of them had like a chain gun and stuff, and it was like, oh, okay. And you could tell them, the sprites were all very distinct back then, and that's something that I liked back then. They were like, they were kind of terrifying, but at the same time they were colorful and vibrant, which isn't something that usually goes together. But maybe vibrant's not the right word, but the colors really stood out, so you could tell exactly what that enemy was from a long distance away. And in this game, you can do that after a while, but it's less about. I mean, I guess that they kind of eventually get the whole weapons thing right eventually, but I don't know. Just the aesthetics of the enemies just don't look like the old game. So like, there's those basic enemies. Those aren't in the game. None of the shooting enemies are in the game. And then, but you have like the imp enemies, which are like classic, Doom. They're like really brown. In this game, they're just like, I don't even know. They're just like gray or something. They're like not colorful at all. And they don't even really resemble the old imp enemies, which is kind of a problem for me, because they're such an iconic enemy. And I don't even know if they make like the same sounds. It's kind of hard to tell the sounds too, because there's like it's all jumbled in with the music or whatever. In the old games, you could definitely tell the sound of an enemy from the distance, and that was really cool. It was good design back then. The areas were tighter to where, I mean, these areas are great, but they're like arenas. It's obvious that they're set up for these big battles to where you can just you kind of have to defeat all the enemies and move on, kind of thing. The old Doom wasn't really like that. It was just kind of like there wasn't any gated progression. You just kind of run through the level at your own pace. If you want to take out the enemies, you can. If not, then don't. That's fine, you know. But this game, it's a little bit more structured in that sense, where they want you to go through it a certain way, and they want you to kill a certain amount of enemies and have a certain experience. So it's like gated progression, which is fine. There's some levels where it's a little bit more puzzly and whatnot, which is also nice. I mean, I think that's a good contrast to have. I'm glad that they had some levels like that, but they were not that many, and they weren't that plentiful, and they were just small parts of levels that did that. So I mean, it's not necessarily a problem. I'm just saying they're different styles of games. Um, Doom was more about the exploration and getting past the enemies. If getting past them in the way you wanted to do it. In this game, you cannot sneak past enemies. There's no way you're gonna do it. You've gotta gun them down, rip off their head, rip out their eye, and shove it in their mouth or whatever. You gotta do it. You can't avoid the action. Not that I'd want to avoid the action. I'm just saying you can't avoid the action. There's no options here. It's like you fight these guys and then you move on, and then that's how that goes. So and there's little secrets and stuff to discover along the way, which is nice because that kind of harkens back to that whole like era of like, in Wolfenstein pushing against every piece of wall to just see like where the walls would go, or in Doom, like trying to find every little thing that you could, get to somehow, like every little secret, which is like really hard to do still. So I'm glad that they retained that, and I'm glad that they're supposedly, and I mean, I know there is actually, but there's like classic levels in there somewhere or something. I just never was able to find really. I found a lot of the little Doom guys or whatever, and I found um, most of the power up things. I got two of my stats. I did. Oh yeah, I should talk about the upgrading system because that's actually really good. Um, I'll say some more of the negatives, and we'll get to the upgrade system. But I did health and not armor, ammo, health and ammo, and then armor was the third one that I just never got to finishing fully. So so yeah. But anyway, uh, basically, I don't know. They just kind of changed the styling of it, and they made it more of an action game, which is fine. I mean, that's just how that is. That's how the new one's gonna be too. Um, it is what it is, But I'm just saying it's not like the old Doom to me, which kind of it's a problem, but it's not a problem. It's not a big problem at the same time. Like the gameplay is still fun. It's it's repetitive, it's mindless, but it's fun enough as is. If you like shooters and stuff, what came to mind for me, even though I like barely have played the Halo games, is it felt like Halo, especially in the first few levels where you're just running around like a Mars bases and stuff. It's like this feels like Halo, uh, you know. So if you like Halo, you're gonna like Doom, I guess. Doom 2016 or Doom 4 or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So, and I'm not necessarily the biggest Halo fan, so that stuff really wasn't that interesting to me. But as you go along, let's start to get to the positives, I suppose. As you go along, you get more weapons and stuff. You get to start doing the upgrades and whatnot. You actually get to some levels that resemble old Doom. Like you have some of the hell levels. Like the first hell level, I think, is probably the best level in the entire game, as far as I'm concerned. It's just really, I don't know. I mean, some of the last levels were actually really good, but you're still, again, in hell or whatever, or you were whatever, wherever that was. It was very hell like, and those atmospheric and design choices were a lot better than the boring Mars base, because the boring Mars base makes it feel like I'm playing Halo. Guess what? I don't want to be playing. I don't want to be playing Halo. I want to be playing Doom, because that's what I picked up. So so yeah, once you get to the atmosphere and the aesthetics of the hell areas, funnily enough, I mean, the enemies actually start to look better. The the knights, or not knights, the skull guys with the two cannon things, like shooting the missiles and whatnot. Those guys are awesome. The mancubuses and the cyber mancubus, I think it is. I don't know what the fuck he's called, but like the green styling one, and then um like the cacodemons look odd. They look like super strange compared to the originals, but they look fine, I guess. They're like mid tier for me for enemies. They're not like the basic enemies, which all kind of suck, design wise, that is. I don't really think any of those look that great. The pinkies were fucking annoying as shit in this game because they're bullet sponges, man. They take more effort than like any of the other enemies to kill. I would always try to use the chainsaw on them or just like gun them down with the Gatling gun because there's like no other way to take those guys out. They can take like as many missiles as a mancubus. It's ridiculous. Even they're easier to take down, and they're gigantic blobs of shit. It's just like what the fuck. Even the Hell Knights, that's what they're called. The Barons. I don't know. They were called Barons in the other game. I think were they called Hell Knights? I don't remember. But the Barons that throw the they look like the Cyber Demon, but they're red instead, and they don't have all the cybernetic. Those guys. I think they're pretty sure they're called the Barons. But anyway, those guys were pretty cool. They looked probably the best of all of the like regular enemies. Most accurate, other than like the Mancubus, I think was pretty good and pretty accurate to the thing. They had those summoner chicks. I mean, those were pretty cool. Uh, they're kind of annoying, but they're pretty cool for new enemies. I don't know. Are they new enemies? I think they're sort of new, right? At least I think they're new. They're kind of reminiscent of the I don't know if it was called the Archvile or something to that effect, where it's like the guy who respawns everyone or whatever. They seem like that. I don't know, but where they fly around and shit. But I think they're pretty much new enemies as far as I am concerned. So those were pretty cool for new enemy. And then I don't know what else was really like a new enemy, but most of the enemies that didn't seem like the other games were pretty good too. I mean, design wise, they're not that great, but most of like the more high tier enemies seemed pretty good design wise, is what I'm trying to say here. They put more effort into those when they probably should have put more effort. Well, I mean, an equal amount of effort into the basic enemies to make them look good every time they're on screen, because they're on screen a lot. So that's all I'm saying. I just would have preferred them to look kind of like the older enemies, and it's what it is. What it is, but So, but anyway, I guess so. You know, positives. They look pretty good. The better enemies, and definitely I'll talk about the bosses quick because the bosses are definitely a positive. Those were all great. As far as I remember, there was four of them. There was the cyber demon. Okay. I will say he was the weakest looking boss because I didn't really like what they kind of did with him design wise. I like his boss fight a lot. I thought that was great. Dodging around, and it was pretty accurate to the old boss fight of the cyber demon. You got there, a little fuzz. All right. But anyway, so I thought that the cyber demon fight was pretty cool, but the design of the cyber demon guy was really disappointing because the cyber demon is one of the most iconic Doom like villains. I really wish they would have made him look like the old one, like towering and just like I can't even explain the look of the cyber demon. It's just like look at the old art of the cyber demon. It's like the most badass thing you've ever fucking seen ever. Like insanely cool. So I kind of wish they would have retained some of that. It's a little bit disappointing. But the I don't know if these guys were called the Hell Knights or whatever these guys were, but they're like the night things where they had the bubble. The one guy had the bubble like that would go around him, and then like you'd wait until he does this attack, and then you'd like shoot at him. Then that boss fight was pretty cool, especially since it was fake out, like there was two more of them afterwards, and I'm just like, what the fuck? How am I supposed to fight two more of them? Of course, I did it like my first try, which is great. But yeah, that was a really cool boss fight, as far as I'm concerned. And then there was, God, what was the other one? I'm not even thinking right now. I just played it today, and I can't even think of it. There's one more, I think, after that, and then I can't think of it, but I know I didn't really care. I didn't really I didn't think of I didn't think they were bad other than like the Cyber Demon design. All the boss fights were great. The final boss, the spider thing, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that they put this in here. Finally, at the very end, I know they're gonna be in Doom Eternal or whatever, but it was like the perfect like oh shit, they're gonna have this thing in here. You know, Doom 3, it had the Cyber Demon at the very end, and it's like, cool, now I'm gonna finally actually get to fight something. And then they kind of fake you out, and you just kind of make it follow you in a circle, which is really dumb. But here, you get to fight the Cyber Demon, you get to fight anything. You fight everything, you know? You fight all the things, and then, um, but the spider was really fucking cool this time around. It had like a ton of great attacks, and the whole thing was just really well planned out. It wasn't as hard. I think the Cyber Demon was probably the hardest of the bosses, but it wasn't as hard as that. It was really cool though. I'm glad that they pulled that out for the end, and then I just thought that was like a really good final boss. Um, but yeah, I thought that was cool. But and then I mean I guess just like I guess I'll just talk about the upgrade system quick. The upgrade system saves and otherwise kind of for me at the time of like the fourth level or whatever where it really starts to get you really start to like be able to upgrade a lot of stuff. That's what saved the game for me. Otherwise, I would have said to that point it was like a really boring game. Is that there's no like nothing other than this gameplay, which was just kind of whatever then, and you weren't really fighting a lot of the interesting enemies then and stuff. Um, the the upgrade system is cool because you get to upgrade your weapons, and you get points for that by like doing the really big arena battles that like happen throughout the whole game or whatever, and just by killing enough enemies, I think, or something. So there's some kind of battling gets you these points basically, which is cool, and that helps you upgrade your guns. It gives you like extra little perks on your guns that they do and stuff. And I thought it was really cool to master your guns. You have to do like a specific thing with them, which I didn't really get to on most of the guns, but I did get the assault rifle mastered by doing the headshots. I thought that was really cool. I like how that one was like probably my favorite weapon, just because it's a really hard choice because all the weapons are pretty good in this game, but just because it has a really good fire rate, and then you also have your scope, and then you get extra damage with the headshots. You get piercing damage, uh, just by shooting through them or whatever. So there's like a lot of really good perks on that one. I thought that the newer gun, I think it's a new gun. I mean, maybe they had it in Doom 3. I don't remember, but the like the big cannon thing or whatever. That was pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest thing or whatever. I thought it was cool how like you run out of item slots or weapon slots or whatever, and then it's like, oh shit, well I guess I'm not getting the BFG, and then like you kind of forget about it, and then like a few hours later, it's like there's a whole like side quest devoted to going and getting, not a side quest, it's part of the main thing, but it's like in his mind it's like a side quest to going to get this BFG thing, and it's like this whole experience of going and getting it. I thought it was really cool, and then you just like get it and you can boom. I only used it like once or twice. I didn't want to like cheese the final boss with it or anything. Well, you do end up using it on the final boss. I thought, okay, let me talk about the I'll talk about the upgrades. I know I keep getting off the upgrades, but I thought that this whole like weaken the enemy, and then you do like this ridiculous kill, like you'll snap their head or rip a thing off, and it wasn't that great. I mean, it was kind of cool to see like a little bit like the first few times, and I mean, I don't even think it did anything that much for me then, but I will say the final one where he rips off the, like he rips the neck, or rips the jaw open, sticks the BFG in there, and it's just like, that's pretty fucking epic. Like, I'll give him that one. That one caught me off guard. I'm like, okay, he's gonna do some kind of stupid kill thing like he always does, and then it's like, and I'm just like, okay, that was pretty hype, like, the other ones are just like, whatever, okay, cool, you're doing a gory thing, amazing, like, I'm not really, like, one for, like, action movies and stuff. I mean, like, I can, if it's the right kind of action movie, it could be all right. But usually that kind of shit bores me. So it's like seeing all these like gory kills and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. You're doing the whole action thing. It wasn't anything extravagant, but that one at the end that got me. That was fucking awesome. And he just boom, that's awesome. But anyway, there's grenades in this game too. I don't know if they had that in Doom 3, but they never had that in any of the other Dooms. I never really used them much, but they're there. But the upgrade system, so you can upgrade your guns. It's like they give you like plenty of points to do it. I mean, I played it probably in the easiest mode, so it's like whatever. But I could have been part of it. But there's also you'll find like dead soldiers along the way, and they're very clearly marked because they're red, and they kind of exude this aura. It's like you'll see them as you're walking past them and shit, and that's pretty cool. A lot of them are hidden away. And those will give you stuff to upgrade yourself. So you like take less damage on this, and you can do this better and stuff like reload faster, something like I don't know, stuff like that. Just environmental things like the controller will vibrate when you're near like a secret or something. So that's pretty cool. And then the best one is like these little capsule. I mean, they're pretty sizable capsules where like they open up and you reach in. It's almost like it made me think of Metroid. With their like energy tanks or whatever, or like really the Chozo statues where you like grab the power up or whatever. But those things were the ones where you can upgrade your health, ammo, or the armor. And so first of all, I just like did health the whole time, and then it's like okay, well there's gonna be more, so it's like okay, I'll do armor next or ammo next because I need more ammo for everything, and then armor I did last and didn't end up getting past 75 with that, but definitely maxed out my health first. I think that was probably the best strategy on that one. I don't know if I think the ammo was probably a good idea, but also you have a chainsaw where it's pretty much a one-hit kill, but it's like you have to have enough fuel in it to do it. Like there's like that's your ammo. There's like ammo for the chainsaw, so it's like certain enemies have like a certain ammo counts. Like the bigger ones will be like 4 pegs or something. Like the biggest ones will be, and then like the smaller ones will be like less, like 1 or 2 or something. So, and then when you chainsaw a guy, it spills out ammo everywhere. So it's like you don't necessarily need to upgrade your ammo quite as much, but I just did it anyway because it seemed more convenient for myself. So, but yeah, I thought that was cool. The upgrade system was really good. I was really happy with that. Helped the game be not so like linear and just like shooting guys up and whatever. I mean, the game would have been so much more boring without this like RPG upgrade system kind of thing. It's more like a Metroid upgrade system. I wouldn't say RPG upgrade system. I'd say more like a Metroid upgrade system where you are finding the stuff and then you add to your arsenal as you go along, and they're generally like hidden away as secrets or whatever, and that's kind of Metroid-esque. So I thought that was pretty cool how it kind of was kind of like Metroid again or whatnot. So, but like that was a really good idea. I think on the Doom part, the Doom created the Bethesda's part. So yeah, I think that's basically what I have to say about the game. I thought it was pretty good, but it was definitely problematic for me in some minor things. Minor, I don't know if I would say minor, but just like things to me that Doom is about. I would say they're important to me. They might be minor to other people, but like the music and the monster designs and that kind of stuff. It was a little underwhelming, but I think as the game went on, it really did fix that. Like let's say like 2/3 of the end of the like the end 2/3 of the game are actually pretty good because well, maybe not 2/3, like half, like the last half of the game is really good because then you start getting into the more hell levels, which are like better atmosphere, and they're like way cooler than the Mars levels, which are just like boring aesthetically, and the enemies are a lot more boring and stuff. So I thought that was cool how they kind of jumped off there. It had a lot more hell than Doom 3, which is great, and those were definitely my favorite parts of the game. The earlier sections of the game were pretty boring. I don't know if I didn't really care for that. I mean, it's there to get to the hell stuff. Then from that point on, it starts getting a lot better, I would say. Still not like incredible or anything. I don't think this game is like genre defining or anything. I think this game is it is taken some of the best parts from other games like I mean, it's basically groundwork is Halo, and then you take you put a lot of Doom elements in there with the demons and stuff. The upgrade system, I don't know if that might be out of something else. I haven't really played. I mean, like thing like that I've played is like BioShock. I guess it's kind of like that. Um, oh, there's oh, I forgot to talk about the runes. Like, okay, so there's like runes where you go to and you'll do like an extra challenge, and there's like, are those runes? I don't know what those are. But then there's like runes where there's things in your inventory that like, it's kind of like a challenge. It's like do this specific thing, and then it'll upgrade that thing. I don't exactly remember what those were all about, but you pick those up everywhere too. So it's another reason to look out for secrets, as for that stuff. Um, but the extra challenges are pretty cool. Just like kill a certain amount of dudes in a certain amount of time. Or there's like this one where I found that like you have to pause after killing. You have like 3 seconds to move after like killing an enemy. Otherwise, and then it just pauses you right there in that spot, and you have to keep killing enemies from that spot to keep moving. I thought that was a really cool like challenge. There's one where you have to kill a bunch of guys only by exploding barrels and stuff. It was neat. It was really cool. A lot of cool challenges like that. I didn't really play like the multiplayer or anything. I don't know if anybody's still even playing that, but I'm sure that's fine or whatever. So but yeah, basically um basically like it really just didn't have a lot of the things that the horror more horror elements that I'd come to know from Doom and whatnot from the original games. And then like I just think that a lot of that was missing, and that was kind of whatever. But then they kind of brought a lot of that atmosphere back with the later levels, which is good. I still would have liked some more creepy music. I think like when you pause the game, or is it like on the main menu or something? I don't remember. Somewhere it has like one of the older creepy songs, and I'm just like, why isn't this just in the game somewhere while you're roaming around hell or whatever? I don't know. It just seemed kind of odd to me that they didn't put that in there. And I know that's not the kind of game they're going for, and that's just part of my problem with it. You know, nitpick to some. For me, it's not a huge problem, but I think it's enough of a problem to stand out. You know, so. But I mean, the good elements. You got the upgrade system. You got the gameplay is pretty fun. Um, and exploring around is kind of like Metroidvania ish. So that's really neat. Um, the some of the later enemies are like really cool. The boss battles are really intense and awesome, and fucking just really metal, and that's cool. Um, and like it's pretty good overall, but I wouldn't call it like genre defining like some other people have called it. Uh, Really more so when it came out, everyone was like sucking this game's dick, which is like, all right. I mean, if you guys found that kind of experience in it, that's great. I think that it's a pretty good shooter, and it has a lot of elements that resemble Doom, and I think that's pretty cool. And it's a worthy successor of a sequel to like the Doom games, but like it's its own thing at the same time, um, which is kind of it's kind of hard to lump it in with the other games because it's just so different from those other games is what I'm trying to say, I guess. It just kind of feels like a different direction to take the series in. And I know that it's kind of like a soft reboot since it's called Doom 2016. It's not actually called Doom 4, but for me, it's basically Doom 4 because, like, let's be real here. We're not just going to throw away the old games, right? Like, to just make room for this. I mean, it is kind of like a remake, a sequel, however you want to look at it. Uh, so, but it's not really a remake though because it really has nothing to do with the old games in terms of like design elements and stuff. Like there's none of the level design or anything carries over, like none of that. So, other than like the doors and stuff like look the same and like the area, but there's like skulls on the doors and stuff and like the skull keys and the key cards and stuff like that's cool how all of that's like kind of calling back to the originals. But I'm just saying like the level design itself, like there's not the same levels and stuff, so it's not a remake. It's a reimagining maybe, but I don't believe that. It's just another sequel game to the series as far as I'm concerned. But um, it's pretty good overall. I don't think it's amazing. I would give it like probably an 8 out of 10. Like I had a lot of fun with it. I definitely played a lot of it to like get through it kind of thing, and I wasn't like struggling to have fun with it. Except for maybe the first few hours like were really just kind of a slog. Because I'm just like, okay, what's so good about this game? Why does everyone love this game? I think this game has, I don't want to say it's overhyped or whatever. It's probably overhyped, but not overrated is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if it's that, but it possibly just like a little bit, because everyone and their mom was talking about it back then. Like this is the new standard for first person shooter gameplay or something. I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know. I just like, I know Overwatch probably had come out at the time, but I like Overwatch better as a shooter. Maybe that's why I'm wearing the t-shirt. I just didn't have a Doom t-shirt to wear, so I mean, I was just trying to figure out, okay, like what's another sort of shooter-ish thing, but I think that has better gameplay and whatnot. But this gameplay is actually still really good. It's and not really. It's still good, but I mean, I don't want to oversell it, but it's still good. It's still serviceable. It'll still do you for what it's worth. And then, but I mean, who am I to say though? I mean, all my friends love it, and I'm the one who played Doom like way back then. I don't think any of them played it till later, so it's like, I mean, for a Doom fan, you'll either love it or you'll think it's pretty good, I guess. I don't think you'll probably hate it. I mean, I was against it to begin with, but I was like pleasantly surprised, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like, it didn't like, whoa, it didn't like shock me, like, oh, wow, um, like, pardon the pun, but Bioshock definitely shocked me in terms of like, okay, this is like a shooter thing and whatever, and it's like, man, this is like really good, like the first Bioshock. Um, but it's nothing like that. It's a pretty good game overall. Like I said, like an 8 would probably be accurate to where it's at, and that's fair enough. I wouldn't go any higher, maybe a little bit lower on a different day or something, but I think 8 is the cap of where I'm gonna rate the score, because I think there's still problems with the game. But I think it's fair that it's a good game and it was fun, and didn't I didn't mind playing it, and I had fun while playing it. I think so. I mean, I thought it was pretty fun, especially the later levels. So I mean, whatever. You make your own opinion. The game is really cheap now. It's like $10 or whatever. So that's cool. If you like Doom, I think give it a shot. If not, then whatever. It's not completely necessary that you gotta play it if you love Doom or something. Like the old games are there still. They're still just as good. I don't know if it's as good as Doom 2, but it would definitely like, probably not, but like, I don't know. There's elements of Doom 2 that frustrate me as well. So I would say that this game, in a sense, could potentially, depending, elements of it are better than Doom 2 and some really aren't. So kind of thing. I don't know. But I would still place it below Doom 2. Probably above Doom 3, obviously, because Doom 3 wasn't like amazing or anything either. So this is probably like the third best Doom game out there, if we're just counting those four. So we'll see how Doom Eternal stacks up. I don't really, not like gonna buy it day one or anything. I'm not really like super hyped for it, but I think that it looks fine. Um, hopefully it'll be good. Hopefully, when it's $10, I'll pick it up and then play it then. And until then, I'll just play other games because that's what I do. So, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic and stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ